In over 2 decades of filmmaking, John Carpenter revolutionized the horror genre. He tapped into his audience's desire to be frightened, and he didn't disappoint them. Films like The Thing and Christine have taken the ordinary and made it terrifying. His 1978 thriller Halloween is still considered one of the most successful independent films ever made. His latest effort is a sequel to the futuristic action-adventure Escape from New York. This time, it's Escape from L.A. It reunites a director with his friend and collaborator, Kurt Russell. I'm pleased to have John Carpenter here this evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
What happened to get this film made? I mean, was someone saying, we ought to do a sequel, and what has to happen is for Carpenter and Russell decide that they want to do it now?
Basically, it was Carpenter and Russell had to decide they wanted to do it. We talked about making a sequel in '85. But we really didn't have an L.A. that we wanted to escape from. In other words, we knew what to do with New York, but we didn't know what to do with Los Angeles. How do you capture Los Angeles for the public, for what it really is? And it was only after the series of catastrophes that visited our fair city in the 90s, the worst riot in U.S. history, this gigantic Northridge earthquake, floods, fires, mudslides, you name it, we have it. And Kurt and I got together and talked, well, why don't we leave? We all stay there. What's our problem? Why do we all stay when we know they're telling us eventually we're going to be decimated? It's because we're in deep denial. Heavy
denial of how bad it's going to be, or what?
Party's going on, man. We don't want to go. We want to stick around. We're having a good time.
That's the nature of L.A.?
That's part of the nature of L.A. and the people who live there.
The people that you know.
But we live in a dark paradise, and it can be a dangerous place. But it seems to have taken over from New York as the dangerous place in the United States now.
Mainly because of the earthquake scare.
Earthquake, but also the riots. The riots were big time. I mean, I looked out from my West Hollywood balcony, and it looked like Beirut.
Really?
Oh, it was unbelievable. People are on their roofs with guns defending their homes
and their shops.
And their shops. It was serious business, and it started at noon one day, and I heard the verdicts read. And as soon as I heard him on talk radio live, I drove home as fast as I could. I knew it was going to happen. Here it comes. Yeah. Here it comes.
Are you surprised by the reaction to the Simpson verdict?
No. I'm not surprised a bit by it. I mean, I'm surprised at the verdicts, but not the reaction to it. I know you're going to have two different sides, and they're both strong. They're both huge.
Does anybody out there see him?
All the time.
Do they?
All the time.
You see him around? He's here and there.
All the time. Playing golf, going to parties.
Not at the same club, though. He used to play. Huh?
No.
But he's out going to parties.
Yes,
you know.
yes. There's a big move in his neighborhood to move him, get him out of there.
Yeah. You know him?
No, don't know him.
Yeah. Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting guy to me as an actor because, one, this relationship he has with Goldie, which seems to be, a very good marriage. He's been on the program for him, and I like him. He's somebody you can talk to. But he's also very bankable, isn't he?
He is now. He sure is, and his time is due. Kurt's been an actor for over 30 years in the business, and I've always thought that he's an actor who's been underappreciated. Our first effort together was a TV movie called Elvis. He played Elvis Presley, and I directed him, and he made me forget that he was an actor, and he made me believe he was Elvis Presley. And I thought, well, man, that's hard to do. I don't know any other actor that can do that, because he doesn't resemble him physically. But he had the essence of the character. He had the essence of Elvis. So I thought of him to play this kind of wild bad guy in Escape from New York named Snake Plissken. And lo and behold, he pulled him off. So here we are again all these years later.
You came out of Western Kentucky and then went out to USC Film School,
right.
as I remember. Is film school, is that what you recommend young men and women who want to be directors to go to film school, either at USC or NYU or some other place where they know what they're doing?
Well, I recommend to young filmmakers that you learn the craft of movie making right from the ground up, and that's what I had to do. I haven't been around film school in years, and I'm not quite sure what they're like anymore. But I had to learn.
For you?
Oh, I learned everything. I learned how to, I had to learn the camera and how to light and shoot, sound, editing. I learned everything from the ground up. I had to learn to project the film. So it's not just that you're walking in and you're not just a writer. You're not just somebody who's talked his way into a project. You know the nuts and bolts of filmmaking. You've studied it from the ground up. Because it's very, very important to understand where you're going. That, I would suggest a young kid has that, but also he has to have talent and luck. And those are things you can't
And the
study.
best directors you know, other than some experience, talent, and luck, the best ones you know, what do they have? Is there a common denominator? Is it the ability to tell a story? Is it the ability to somehow choose?
They see. They can see. They can see. The best directors can see. Some directors don't tell great stories. Some directors are a little bit better off with more lyrical material. Some people aren't, you know, everybody's different, but they can visualize it. They can see. This is what, movies are pictures. Sometimes they have dialogue, sometimes they don't, but it's about seeing things.
That's true about most people who do something very well. I mean, certainly if they're creative or entrepreneurial, there is the ability to see. If you're businessmen and women, it's the ability to see how the deal will work. Painters can see where they're going.
That's right. So I would say it's the same for a movie maker. He has a vision. He has a vision of something that means something to him, can see it on the screen before it's there. And that's simply creativity, talent.
Do you like the editing process?
I do very much. It's a rewriting process. Basically, you've shot one movie, and if you want to make it work differently, you can. You can rewrite a film by the editing.
Are you there for every frame for the edit, or you go in and have somebody else do a rough cut, and then you come in and...
Well, I don't literally cut it myself.
No, I know that, but you know what I mean. Obviously,
yes,
I understand that. But some people just have an editor who they've long known and trusted put together...
Oh, never. No, they're my films. They got my name above the title. I better be in on it.
Well, it's interesting about you when you say that. You're one of those directors whose name does go above the title because you are, you know, you have a name brand.
Well, one thing they taught me in film school was no matter what, if you're gun for hire or you write the screenplay yourself, no matter what, make it your own film. Make it personal. Bring something to it. One of my teachers at film school was Orson Welles, and he said, look, sometimes I do scripts because there's a great chase in the 10th reel. And I can do something with that chase. He said, I just don't do it for necessarily the whole movie, but when I do it, it's all mine. So I have the same philosophy. I had some great teachers back at this.
Yeah, Welles was a good teacher.
Orson Welles, Howard Hawks, John Ford, Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, they were all lecturers at our school. I learned from the greatest.
Welles was a good teacher?
Oh, he was wonderful. It's like a storyteller. He would sit around for a whole evening and just tell stories about movies. What he wanted to do was get to a moviola, though. See, he was an editor. He loved editing. He said you can learn movies by the editing process. Sitting down at a moviola and learning.
Even in my exposure to making film for television, it's
unbelievable.
People who understand editing have a great sense of what a shot ought to be and where it ought to go
and how it fits with the next shot.
How it fits with the next shot. Yeah. And you know, so you don't come back and don't have what you need to make the action advance.
That's right.
You know.
So he was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
Howard Hawks, wow.
He's my favorite director.
Why?
He's made a great movie in every genre. No other director's ever done that.
Yeah.
He makes movies without sentimentality, and he made movies about women that were way ahead of their times. The women weren't sentimentalized. They weren't secondary to men. They stood on their own. He made very typically American films. He showed us the way we are or the way we should be, as opposed to John Ford brought the immigrant experience of the Irish, and Alfred Hitchcock was a transplanted Brit and so forth. Howard Hawks was right down the line, kind of an American filmmaker.
So the people you really admire the most are people, who are either dead or worked a long time ago.
Yes, the classic American directors is where I get my primary inspiration. But the newcomers now, the independents that are coming up, they're the hope. They're the ones who are going to come and change the rules and really get things going again. I'm very happy about a friend of mine, Quentin Tarantino. He's doing some very good work. I like what he's doing.
He's a friend of this broadcast, too.
Yeah.
Great to have you here, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Escape from
L.A.
L.A. Opening soon at local theaters around America. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.